The most fundamental thing about starting a landrace is you need to be saving your own seeds. That's the fundamental basis of landrace gardening, is because things can't become locally adapted if you're not saving local seeds.
This year, our water was rationed, and oftentimes during the time when my water was supposed to be available, the system just wasn't working. And so my garden really had a lot of drought issues this year. Some of the tomatoes, though, did fine in the drought conditions, even though I normally have unlimited water. And so those are going to become the ancestors of whatever tomatoes I grow in the future. And so they've had at least 1 year of selection for drought tolerance. If our ecosystem continues to head towards drought conditions, then that whole population will shift towards a drought-tolerant tomatoes. I am so delighted with the response people have to my book. Every once in a while, I get a feedback that's like, "You are committing genocide against those poor heirloom varieties." And I'm like, it's okay, because I'm not really. I'm saving the genetics of them. I'm just not saving one particular inbred variety of the genetics. For the most part, people are really super excited that they don't have to keep records. They don't have to do perfect weeding. They don't have to do all of these rules and regulations that people want to put on gardeners to make them feel bad because they're a bad gardener, they're a bad farmer because they didn't do all these things. And the thing that my book is giving people is it's giving them freedom. Freedom to let varieties cross-pollinate, freedom not to do perfect weeding, freedom to just be joy and have happiness in the garden rather than, it's this work and this turmoil. So when I originally started growing genetically diverse seeds, I was a market farmer. I took my produce to the farmer's market, and I would take butternut squash, and the size of the butternut squash might be anywhere from this big to this big, and they might be round, or they might have a long neck, or they might have a little short fat neck. And it took some effort on my part to train my customers that any butternut squash that I gave to them, first of all, it would taste amazing. And it would have the exact same uses in the kitchen as any other butternut squash that anyone could grow. Every year before I save a seed from any squash, I taste the squash. What that did for me is every single generation the taste was getting better and the flavor was getting better. And so I had a reputation in my garden, in my market stand, for having the best tasting produce. The university conducted a survey of my customers. I thought that they'd say, "Oh, we buy his produce because it's organic. We buy his produce because it's local. We buy his produce, for whatever reason." No, the number one reason was because of the taste, the flavor. That's what people were buying my produce for. When I harvest the butternut squash to take it to market, that butternut squash has viable seeds in it. I could easily take those seeds and save the seeds from it and replant it. And even if that was all I did as a farmer, was took one species and saved the seeds from it, they would become locally adapted over the years. And I could still keep that same butternut squash type of seeds, and my customers would never know that I was a seed saver. When I originally started saving my own seeds, I saved $1,000 a year in seeds on my little 3/4 of an acre garden. And that's $1,000 that I can just put in my pocket that I don't have to spend. In my opinion, the very most effective way for farmers is for each farmer to be saving their own seed on their own farm, because then they become locally adapted, not only to the ecosystem, but to the farmer's habits, the farmer's equipment, the farmer's irrigation system. Even if we go one step larger and are saving seeds as local communities, that's much better than getting seeds, random seeds from China or from, who knows where. Because the more local the seed is grown, the better it's likely to do. Whether or not we're selecting for genetic diversity and all of that other stuff, if we source our seeds locally, that's the most reliable, the most consistent productivity that we're likely to get from our seeds.
So to start the landrace, start saving seeds, start sharing them with your neighbors, and then add some genetic diversity. Let some things cross-pollinate.
Take 3.